Hey guys, James MC Reviews here, back with another Ketchup review covering all the movies I saw in August and September. And good God, there are a lot of movies that I watched these past couple months. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible, starting with Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. It was released in 2003 and kickstarted one of the most successful franchises in Disney's catalog. I'm definitely going to need to circle back to this series sometime in the future, but to keep it short, this was a great introduction. The characters were memorable, the story was engaging, the action and effects look incredible. It was overall a great watch, and I'm glad my friend finally forced me to watch it. 4.5 out of 5. Harold and the Purple Crayon is based off the children's book of the same name and stars Zachary Levi as the titular Harold, and I am still perplexed as to why this movie was made the way it was. Why are we still bringing beloved children's stories to the real world with the same tired plot, lame humor, and awful VFX? Especially when the opening 10 minutes, where it's 2D animated, looks great. 2 out of 5, don't waste your time. Trap is the newest M. Night Shyamalan movie about a killer who takes his daughter to a concert that is actually a trap. This is a very stupid, very convoluted mess of a movie, but I kind of enjoyed it. I thought Josh Hartnett was really good. There were a few genuinely tense scenes, and I liked watching this guy try to think on his feet and to stay 2 steps ahead of everyone else. It does rely on everyone working this sting operation being really stupid, but I was with it for a while. After it leaves the concert, it kind of falls apart, with an ending that goes on for way too long and too many contrivances to count. Still, I had fun with how insane it was. 3.5 out of 5. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, is one of the worst movies I've seen this year. The fact that Nickelodeon and Netflix thought this was okay to release is frankly embarrassing. It did get leaked like 6 months before it officially released, and everyone who saw it early warned us that it was going to be bad. But bad doesn't even begin to cover it. The story is bland, the characters are obnoxious, the animation is kinda hit and miss, but the VFX mixed with the live action is horrendous. 1 out of 5, skip this shit. Speaking of movies that were leaked before they were officially released, Plankton the movie was scheduled for release on Netflix in 2025, but much like with Sandy, someone decided to leak it early. Netflix seriously needs to get their security situated because this is getting ridiculous. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be showing footage because I don't want Viacom to nuke my entire channel, so I hope you enjoy looking at Glorb's vengeance for the next minute or so. I'm also going to be pretty vague when talking about the plot because I would like people to watch this when it officially releases. And yeah, I think you definitely should watch it because it was surprisingly good. Watching this after the Sandy Cheeks movie feels like night and day. The humor is actually funny, the story is entertaining, the characters aren't annoying, and the animation, for what it is, still looks pretty damn good. Not perfect, but worth a watch. 3.5 out of 5. Kneecap is the biopic telling the story of the real-life Irish rap group and their journey to preserve the Gaelic language in the most debaucherous way possible. I really liked this movie. It felt a lot fresher than a lot of music biopics recently. Visual style felt like a more angsty, drug-infused Scott Pilgrim. The comedy was genuinely funny, but doesn't overshadow the weight of the story. The band members, for this being their first time acting, did pretty damn good. And the music was also pretty awesome. I hope this doesn't fly under the radar come award season, because I think it's a worthy contender. 4 out of 5. Oklahoma is a 2001 filmed production of the hit stage show that stars Hugh Jackman and took me like 5 days to get through. Yeah, I wasn't super big into this one. The songs were decent and the dancing was cool, but the story was kind of boring and the characters were all really terrible people. 2.5 out of 5, sorry. The Birdcage was released in 1996 and stars Robin Williams and Nathan Lane as a pair of gay parents who hatch a plan to impress the conservative father of their son's girlfriend. And as collar-tugging as that description sounds, it's actually pretty tasteful and really funny. The acting across the board is great, the situations are humorous, and aside from some dated language, it holds up pretty well. 3.5 out of 5. Borderlands is directed by Eli Roth and is one of the biggest bombs of 2024. When I saw how bad this was doing, I was excited to see how much of a glorious train wreck this was. But it wasn't even a funny train wreck. It was just dull and boring. The characters have no personality, the story is just nonsensical exposition followed by lame action. And seriously, how are we still getting green screens that look this bad in 2024? If the movie did one thing right, at the very least, it got me interested in checking out the games to see how royally they fucked this up. 1.5 out of 5. Cuckoo is directed by Tillman Singer and is about a girl who moves to Germany with her new family and discovers a dark secret lying underneath. I had to go to Letterboxd to paraphrase that description because I genuinely couldn't remember what this movie was about. For as weird and convoluted as it was also pretty in one ear out the other. I remember the acting being pretty solid and the visuals being kind of creepy, but other than that, it was pretty mid. 3 out of 5. Alien Romulus is set between the first and second Alien movie, and I really enjoyed it. Admittedly, I haven't seen the other Alien movies, which I know is a travesty, but I feel like you can still enjoy this movie without having seen the others. It's an effective slow burn, it builds suspense really well, the practical effects mixed with the CGI very nicely. The final act gets kind of silly, but overall, I really like this movie. 4 out of 5. Ryan's World the Movie, Titan Universe Adventure. I can already feel your jaws drop with me reading that title. Listen, I'm paying for A-List, I might as well make the most of it. This movie was exactly what I expected it to be. The animated segments were fine, the live action stuff was really cringy and terrible. Personally, I think a more interesting Ryan's World movie would be a quiet on set style documentary unloading all the dark ways his parents have taken advantage of him, but this was fine too, I guess. 2 out of 5. Skincare stars Elizabeth Banks as a well-known beautician who has to deal with the competitor across the street who might be trying to ruin her career and life. This movie was alright. It had a decent, if overused, story and some solid performances, but it kinda lost the plot towards the end and kinda forgot about a lot of threads they were setting up at the beginning. Apparently, the movie is based on a true story, and honestly, I kinda would have rather seen a movie about the real-life story. But this was fine too. 3 out of 5. Crow is a remake of the 1994 film and joins the 2024 box office bomb club along with Borderlands. This was another one that I was excited for because of how bad it was, but again, like Borderlands, it was just a dull, boring slog. Characters were uninteresting, the story felt very scatterbrained, and the pacing was giving me whiplash. There were a couple of funny deliveries, but overall, the movie was just a chore. 1.5 out of 5. Blink Twice stars Naomi Ackie and Channing Tatum and is about a group of people who are invited to a tech billionaire's private island, and in the midst of their drunken partying, they realize that they're forgetting crucial things. This movie was kind of fun. It's definitely on the lower end of the Eat the Rich subgenre, if you can even lump it in with those movies, but it has a fun concept, some good performances, solid visuals, and a nice layer of intrigue, even though it is pretty obvious. 3 out of 5. Afraid is about a family who willingly lets an experimental AI into their house and allows it to take over their lives. It is a very stupid movie, but it was more entertaining than The Crow and Borderlands, and at the very least, it was shorter. 2 out of 5. The Front Room is directed by Sam and Max Eggers and is about a pregnant woman who is put through hell when her mother-in-law moves in. A lot of people didn't like this movie, and I can definitely see why, but I was kind of into it. The best way I can describe it is religious trauma the movie. It's very gross and off-putting, it's very campy and over the top, and it has a really great performance from Kathryn Hunter as Solange. It won't be for everyone, but I enjoyed it. 3.5 out of 5. TMNT is the CG animated Ninja Turtles movie released in 2007, and it was decent. The animation was pretty solid for the time, the voice acting is pretty good. I like that it seemingly takes place in the same universe as the 90s Turtle trilogy. The story is kind of all over the place and convoluted, but works for the type of movie that it is. It was a good time. 3 out of 5. Speak No Evil is an American remake of a Danish film about a family who goes to the West Country to hang out with a couple of strangers that turns into a fight for survival. This movie would not be nearly as good if it wasn't for James McAvoy. He absolutely carries this movie on his shoulders. He goes back and forth between charming, funny, passive-aggressive, and legitimately kind of terrifying. He is so good that he kind of outshines everyone else. The rest of the actors do perfectly fine, it's just he stands out the most. The movie certainly relies on everything going wrong for these characters, and the characters themselves are kind of ignorant, terrible people, but by the third act, it is genuinely kind of tense. I'd say give it a watch. 3.5 out of 5. Labyrinth was directed by Jim Henson, released in 1986, and is about a teenage girl who goes on a quest through a strange land to rescue her baby brother from the Goblin King, played by David Bowie. I've been wanting to watch this one for a while, and it was pretty good. It's kind of weird and all over the place, sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. The music is really good, the effects are pretty dated, but the puppetry is still great. It's a fun time. 3 out of 5. The Killer's Game stars Dave Bautista as a hitman who orders a hit on himself because he thinks he has a terminal disease. But when he finds out he's actually going to live, he has to protect himself from all the other assassins coming for him. This was perfectly fine. It went by really quickly, it had a good sense of humor, but for the most part, it was just a typical hitman comedy. 3 out of 5. The Substance is directed by Coralie Fargate. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, by the way. This is her second feature film, and it is one of the best movies of this year. So much so that I don't really want to talk too much about it because I want you to go in as blind as possible. If you've seen the trailers, you know it stars Demi Moore as an aging actress who takes an experimental drug that gives her a younger, hotter version of herself. And the way the movie presents itself is absolutely mesmerizing. It's gross and off-putting and gorgeous and intense. The acting is top notch. The visual storytelling is fantastic. Oh my God, just please see this for yourself. It is truly amazing. Maybe don't eat while watching it. 4.5 out of 5. Transformers 1 is directed by Josh Cooley and tells the origin of Optimus Prime and Megatron from their strong friendship to their inevitable betrayal. And I gotta be honest, this movie has no right to go as hard as it does. The trailers for this movie looked alright, it's just the fact they were playing up the comedy kinda worried me a little bit. But not only does this movie strike a good balance between really well-rounded character moments and humor, but the movie was actually legit funny. Bumblebee had the potential to be really annoying, and for the most part, he wasn't. I really like the voice acting, although Chris Hemsworth was slipping in and out of his Optimus voice for it to be noticeable and funny. The story felt like a refreshing return to the world of the cartoon. The animation was vibrant, and the action looked really awesome without feeling like sensory overload. And even though the sequence of events is pretty predictable, they still get you invested in the characters and their journeys. Easily the best Transformers movie, and definitely worth a watch. 4 out of 5. Speaking of robots, The Wild Robot is directed by Chris Sanders, based on the book by Peter Brown, and is about a robot who gets stranded on an island and is tasked with raising a little gosling, bringing all the animals together, and discovering what she was made for. Now, I did something truly unprecedented before this movie. I read the book. But even with that said, I was more reading it as a frame of reference and not as a comparison. I was still really excited for this movie beforehand, and it absolutely exceeded my expectations. This is top 5 of the year material. I was absolutely floored by how beautiful this movie is. The story is engaging, mixing a harshness with a nice bit of hopeful optimism. It changes things from the book without hindering the arcs of the characters. The animation is absolutely gorgeous, the music is so atmospheric, the voice actors are great across the board, and this movie joins the small subset of movies that have actually managed to make me cry, which is honestly the biggest compliment I can give it. This is seriously the biggest apology for Kung Fu Panda 4 DreamWorks could have made, and hands down the best animated movie of the year. 4.5 out of 5. I figured I'd throw this in here too, but I watched The Suicide Squad Isekai. This is the anime series on Max that sees Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and several other villains from the DC universe getting transported to a fantasy world to complete a mission for Amanda Waller. Originally, this was going to get its own separate video, but by the time I finished it, I really didn't have much to say about it. It's a fairly generic isekai story. The world they get sent to doesn't really look that interesting. There are a lot of plot threads that don't really go anywhere, and the characters are all just kind of stereotypes of themselves. Ultimately, it was just kind of boring. 2.5 out of 5. And that does it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments what you've been watching the last couple months, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon.